The studio lights shone brightly as the audience settled into their seats, buzzing with anticipation. It was advertised as an ordinary television discussion about modern psychology, media influence, and public opinion. No one expected the conversation to become the most talked-about moment of the week. Dr. Phil walked onto the stage with his usual calm confidence. Across from him sat Joy Behar, smiling as she greeted both the audience and the guest. The atmosphere felt friendly, but everyone could sense that both personalities were prepared to defend their viewpoints passionately. The discussion began with simple questions about how television shapes public thinking. Joy argued that media personalities have a responsibility to challenge misinformation while encouraging viewers to think critically. Dr. Phil responded that understanding. Human behavior requires listening before judging, and that meaningful conversations are built on curiosity rather than assumptions. At first, both exchanged thoughtful ideas. The audience applauded after several well-reasoned comments from each side. Even the hosts seemed pleased with the respectful tone of the conversation. Then the topic shifted toward how people react during stressful situations. Joy suggested that public figures sometimes oversimplify complex emotional issues for television audiences. Dr. Phil leaned forward slightly and explained that psychology teaches people to separate emotional reactions from evidence. Before reaching conclusions, the audience became noticeably quieter. Joy challenged his statement by asking whether television experts sometimes become too confident in their own interpretations. Instead of responding emotionally, Dr. Phil smiled politely and explained that every professional, regardless of experience, should remain open to new information because human behavior is rarely simple. Several audience members nodded in agreement. The conversation grew more intense, but neither speaker raised their voice. Instead, each carefully chose their words, making every sentence feel important. Cameras captured audience members leaning forward in their seats, eager not to miss a single exchange. One audience member was invited to ask a question. She explained that families often struggle when disagreements become personal rather than productive. Dr. Phil answered by describing how active listening can reduce conflict. Joy agreed that empathy plays an essential role, adding that respectful disagreement should never become personal attacks. The audience applauded again. As the discussion continued, Joy presented a hypothetical situation involving workplace disagreements. She argued that confidence without compassion can create unnecessary conflict. Dr. Phil responded that confidence becomes valuable only when combined with accountability, patience, and a willingness to admit mistakes. The hosts exchanged surprised glances as the audience reacted enthusiastically to the thoughtful discussion. Another viewer asked whether social media encourages people to judge others too quickly. Joy acknowledged that online conversations often reward outrage instead of understanding. Dr. Phil added that psychology repeatedly shows how first impressions can be misleading and why people should pause before forming lasting opinions. For several moments, the studio became unusually quiet. The audience seemed less interested in choosing a winner and more interested in hearing both perspectives. Every response sparked applause from different sections of the crowd. As the conversation reached its peak, Joy challenged one final idea. She asked whether psychologists sometimes underestimate the role of personal experience compared with scientific research. Dr. Phil paused before answering. He explained that personal experiences are meaningful because they shape emotions and perspectives. However, he said that psychology also depends on carefully gathered evidence, repeated observation, and continuous learning. According to him, balancing compassion with facts helps people make wiser decisions. His calm explanation earned another round of applause. Joy smiled respectfully and admitted that although they approached the topic differently, she appreciated conversations where disagreement remained civil instead of becoming hostile. The audience applauded even louder. The atmosphere in the studio completely changed. What many expected to become an explosive confrontation instead transformed into an example of respectful debate. Even viewers watching from home later commented that they appreciated seeing two strong personalities exchange ideas without shouting over one another. As the show prepared to end, the host asked both guests to share one final piece of advice. Joy encouraged viewers to stay curious and avoid placing people into simple categories. Dr. Phil encouraged everyone to ask questions before making assumptions, and reminded viewers that understanding another person's perspective is often the first step towards solving disagreements. The audience rose to its feet, giving both guests a standing ovation. After the cameras stopped recording, many audience members continued, discussing the ideas they had heard instead of arguing about who had won. Some said they planned to communicate more patiently with family members. Others admitted the conversation, reminded them that thoughtful discussions often accomplish more than emotional arguments. Clips from the fictional debate spread across social media within the story, inspiring countless conversations about communication, psychology, and respectful disagreement. Instead of celebrating conflict, many viewers praised the importance of listening carefully before responding. In the days that followed, commentators described the imaginary television appearance as memorable not because of dramatic insults or shocking confrontations, but because it demonstrated that even strong disagreements can remain respectful. The greatest surprise wasn't someone being defeated. It was seeing two determined personalities challenge each other's ideas while maintaining dignity throughout the conversation. The fictional broadcast ended with a simple message displayed on the screen. The strongest conversations are not the loudest ones. They are the ones where people listen, think, and leave knowing a little more than when they arrived. That message stayed with viewers long after the credits rolled, reminding everyone that real strength is measured not by winning arguments, but by encouraging understanding, respect, and meaningful dialogue.